Okay, Mom. All right.
What do you want?
We want to know about the gypsies. What did your mom and dad tell you about the gypsies? And where were you when they told you? You said you were 5 years old?
Yes, I was 5 years old.
Where did you live?
I lived in Vraljevo, Banat, Serbia.
What year would that have been?
Well, I left the country there at 5, so I have no idea. These would be the stories my mom and dad would just, through conversation, I would hear.
Yeah. Okay. So you were born in what year?
23.
1923,
So
January 1st, January 13th.
So that was 1928 that you were 5. Well, what did they tell you about the gypsies? You had gypsies in the country then?
All of Europe had gypsies, and they were every country's gypsies. The Romanians had gypsies. They're originally from Romania. You want to find out about the gypsies, you go to the library and get everything on Romania. You want to find gypsies.
Yeah.
German gypsies, Italian gypsies, Serbian gypsies, all the nations had gypsies.
Well, how did they travel?
Well, they had their caravans. What you see in today's movies is what really happened.
Mm-hmm.
And they used to make money by training the big bear. And the bear, they'd have him chained around the neck, and then they'd make him do different stunts and stuff, and people would throw money, and that's how they made their living. They were also people that would repair things, sharpen knives, repair pots that have holes in them. You're talking back in the 20s,
Yeah.
you know, and earlier.
Right.
So therefore, they that's how they made their living. And of course, we had weird tales about the gypsies, about you gotta hide your kids. They're gonna eat your kids.
Hide your kids.
Yeah, because they're gonna eat your kids
Eat 'em.
and different things. So,
Did you ever see a gypsy with a bear?
the story that my mom tells me so picturesque that I don't know whether I really saw it or it's just a story.
And what was that?
Just a bear and this gypsy just making the bear do tricks. That's all.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay.
So I don't know anything else about him.
Did you, when you left the country at age of 5, where did you go first? You didn't?
We caught the train, we went to France, and we got the boat called the Sonia from Paris and went into Halifax, Canada. They put us on a train, and we traveled across the country to a place called Regina, Saskatchewan, which is the capital city. And my dad came there 2 years before we did because he had to work on the farms. They were opening up the West, and it was farm country. They needed the people to work on farms. So you sign up for 2 years, and when that 2 years is up, you save your money, and my dad sent for my mother and I. And my dad was a barber after that. After he left the farm, he got working for a barber shop, and my mother was a dressmaker, and she started sewing for people, very slow. It was depression. And my sisters were born.
What was the depression like?
Oh, wow. We didn't even know there was a depression. We were always well-dressed. Mother sewed clothes. And in those days, they used to barter a lot. Maybe my dad would give a haircut for something, and my mom would just sew a dress for something in return. There wasn't always money exchanges. I can remember my mother given me dance lessons. Her name was Hannah Kusakabi. Her father was Japanese, her mother was Serbian, and Hannah was a teacher, dance teacher, and of course I loved to dance, so my mother would sew her an outfit, and she would teach me dancing. Oh, I'm going out, I'm going black. I'm going black.
Okay.
I need a sip of water.
Here, one.
Anyway, I don't know why you're so interested. See, history is very interesting. In fact, they say their kings were very rich, and there's lots of gold planted around the world. So it would be very interesting to read their book and their history that they write, not somebody else writes. Anyway, when I couldn't speak English or anything, so I was about 7 when they took me to go to school, and whoever registered me called me Melaine, and my real name was Serbian, is Milana. And then when I got older, 18 or so, I had to change. I changed my name legally to Melaine and had it
How did you spell it in the Serbian way?
Melena.
Oh, I like that.
I do too.
Oh.
Yeah.
Now,
Anyway, well, whoever registered me,
Yeah.
my parents never went inside of school, so
Yeah.
whatever.
Oh.
Yeah, and then we went back to, my dad heard everybody's going to Vancouver, British Columbia. Golden opportunity. Our Serbian people were going over there and trying to make a living. So my dad goes, and we all go over there, but he couldn't get, we had to go on relief. And my dad couldn't get a job because he couldn't speak English quite, hasn't learned then. So we were told we either all had to go, oh, my sister Ruby was born there, that we all had to go back to Saskatchewan or be deported back to Yugoslavia. So, of course, my dad got money for my sisters, Yvonne, Ruby, and myself to go on the train, and my dad to go back to Regina, and then my dad hopped the freights in those days to get back to Regina. And in the meantime, he had sold his barber shop to a man that couldn't afford it, so my dad got his barber shop back. And it was on Scarth Street in Regina. He was there for many, 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 many years. I met Nigel. I went to school. After I graduated from school, I went into hairdressing school. And my dad was a barber, so he opened up a little shop for me, which I had for about 2 years. The war was on, and I got married, met Nigel Hammond, and I married him in 1942. And we had 3 children. Nigel, my first, Yvonne, my second, and Lainey, my third. Well, Lainey's Melaine, really, we called her nicknames so we wouldn't be having the confusion.
I'm surprised you didn't call her Milena.
I should have
I
called her
know.
Milena.
Yeah.
But when you lived,
You would have liked Milena?
Yes.
Yeah.
I would.
Yeah.
well, I'll tell you what, in those days when you lived in British colony, you try to get your name as close to English so you can get a job. Otherwise, if you had a real foreign name, you didn't get the jobs that day. Remember, that was the Depression days. So the English would get the first jobs, naturally. So the big thing is that a foreigner right away, he tries to get his own job, make his own business. And that's how they became quite successful. They're hard workers. And then after we got married, after the World War II, we moved in 46, we moved to Windsor, Ontario, because my mom and dad moved over there after the war. And in
She's sleeping. The pill.
1954, Lainey was born in Windsor, and Yvonne was born in Windsor. Nigel was born in Regina, and we moved there in 40. We stayed there for a while. We made papers to go to Florida. Nigel's mother and dad, they moved to Vancouver from Saskatchewan, and they liked it very well. But he was a policeman on the railroad, so he was able to get free passes. So he could travel all around, and Granny could get all the free trips too. So Dad and I decided to take books. We moved over to Detroit for the winter, and we got books on California and Florida, and decided the best thing to do was to Florida. It'd been easier for my parents to get there, as it would be too far for them to go across country to California when Nigel's mother and dad had a free pass. So that was our decision. 1954, we landed in Tampa, Florida. July the 1st, St. Petersburg, Florida. And
Do you remember what kind of car you drove down in?
yeah, 1949 Studebaker. And Lainey was 2 the day we arrived there. She was 2 years old, July the 1st. July 18th. But we got there July the 1st. 8th. Lainey was born the 8th. Nigel was born July 18th. And Yvonne was born August 2nd. I'm getting confused. But anyway. Tampa. Enjoyed it. Had wonderful friends. The kids went to good schools. Robinson and Manhattan. And Nigel worked for the newspaper, so he got a better offer at St. Pete Times. Jacksonville, Florida.
Yeah. Florida Times Union.
Yeah, Florida Times Union. So in 1967, we moved to Jacksonville till the present day, and we're here. I had a good life. I met wonderful people. I've always had nice friends. I loved and enjoyed my family. I love my friends dearly. And I belonged to the Red Hat. I enjoyed playing cards. And Dad and I were avid ballroom dancers, which we enjoyed. I taught my Yvonne and Nigel to dance jitterbug, so they were great dancers. Everybody used to watch them dance when they used to get up in the places and dance.
She needs water.
Let's see. I worked for Parrish Volvo for 7 years. They were nice people. I worked for tag agency, and I worked for JEA, and I had a good life. Nigel passed away in 1998, and 5 years later, I met a gentleman, Harold Eman. We had about 5 good years together. We traveled. He was a very nice gentleman. And he got sick, and I got too old to look after anybody and myself. So my dear lady closed in their carport, and I sold my house in 2011, and moved in. They closed in their carport, and I had a beautiful suite at her home, and Laney looked after me. It was all her heart. And I'm so grateful. My kids were good. When Nigel couldn't, he moved away, of course. And he couldn't come home too often. And Yvonne, she moved around, lived mostly in South Florida. And I've got wonderful grandchildren. But living away, I didn't get to see them and really, really know them. And I've got great-grandchildren. And I'm so blessed by being here to see Sophia, Nigel and Amy's little girl born. I saw her being born, which is a great pleasure. And then Laney baby watched her, and I was always there to see her. And I don't know how long it'll be that I will be here. I don't think I'm doing too swift. But I just want to tell my children, I love you so much. I love you so much. You've been so good. You've been good kids. Thank you for that. You didn't get into trouble or anything. I'm proud of all of you. All of you. You're good-hearted kids. That's the biggest blessing, to have a heart for everybody. Oh, God. Take it easy. Oh. No regret.